What's unique about the Indigenous Studies program here at York is that the program is run by all Indigenous faculty. So the students that come to see us can see themselves reflected in the academy. And that's a great plus. These spaces can be alienating, and to come in and into community and to be taught by community is a really important thing.
One of the things that I really like about the Indigenous Studies program at York University is the national and international reach of the student body. So we have students from all across the country, all across the continent, and indeed around the world. And that brings all kinds of rich perspectives that I think many sort of regionally based programs wouldn't necessarily have.
For me, I teach upper level courses, so I don't get to see the students when they come into the program. But what I like most about teaching in the program, one of the things I think is most unique is our spirituality course. I think in other programs, people read about Indigenous spirituality, but in our program, people get to practice ceremonies. They go to sweat lodges, feasts. We're starting to talk about having land-based teachings for them, where they can go out on land, do fasting in the spring and things like that. So that's one of the things I think is most unique about the program.
My first impression was that there was a lot of pent-up enthusiasm for the students at York University because our program is new. We launched just in the past couple of years. So the first cohort that we ever had in Indigenous Studies came last year. And I saw, again, an enormous amount of enthusiasm from the students to be able to focus on Indigenous issues in the classroom.
What I know that Indigenous students like about the Indigenous Studies program at York University is that this is specifically on Indigenous issues in a way that they can understand as well. They can learn about the history of their people, and it gives them an anchor into their own culture, a way to understand their own histories, cultures, worldviews through texts that are written by other Indigenous scholars.
I think it's kind of a friendly place where they can explore their own cultural values. I think that seems to be really important, as I say, when they come into the upper grades, because we've had a bunch of students who came in late, they switched programs. They were so excited about Indigenous studies that mostly Indigenous students who moved from their old programs into our program. And I've taught a number of them, and I think it's the fact that they really can explore their own cultural values and those kinds of experiences that they like the most. I think it's a friendly place. They not only learn about Indigenous issues, but they also learn about settler colonialism, and I think that's important. But they also get to, attend ceremonies and in that way learn about Indigenous worldviews. And I think it makes them better allies for Indigenous peoples.
The program at York University provides non-Indigenous students a way in to understand Indigenous issues that are very contemporary and are in news today. So it's like a primer for these issues, provides an understanding where we can create relationships and bridges and begin the early stages of reconciliation.
Generally, Indigenous Studies courses will have a mix of both Indigenous and non-Indigenous students. Generally, it's mostly non-Indigenous students in our courses. So for many of them, it's their first time learning about Indigenous issues, perhaps at any level, not just post-secondary. And so I find it's a space where they can come and interact with Indigenous faculty and Indigenous students and learn about issues that were otherwise missing from their education.
The fact that it's a small program means that we can really get to know our students, which I really love. And I think that's some of the things that they enjoy about it as well. I love teaching First Nations music because I think it's one of the most powerful and expressive ways of addressing Indigenous cultural knowledge. As I say, most of the courses I teach are upper year. So I also enjoy teaching First Nations literature. It really provides really powerful ways of understanding indigeneity. And finally, I teach a course on Black Indians and Native Black relations. And I think it's really important in these times when we're trying to address how anti-Black racism and indigeneity works together, right? Or rather, how Indigenous peoples and Black peoples can address our issues together.
I think the thing that struck me most was the enthusiasm, the knowledge, and the passion that students bring. I've only been teaching at York for 2 years now, but I've been amazed with the quality and the engagement of the conversations we've had in the classroom. So some of the best classroom discussions I've ever been a part of have been here at York.
What I enjoy most teaching about this program is community. I think community is central to Indigenous worldviews. And within my classrooms, we create community that's run by Indigenous faculties that are communities that wrap around us. And a lot of the students that come into my class are really keen to learn about issues that they haven't heard about really in any depth in the schooling where they come from.